Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Input Lab's Pokemon Diamond Randomizer Nuzlocke. Today, we are about to take on the 5th gym leader of the game, not the 3rd gym leader, as she is in Platinum, Fantina, and I did a bunch of grinding off screen, and there's a few changes to the team. So everybody's up to level 36.
You brought them in.
I did bring them in. In fact, they're almost 37 because, you got to edge them as close as you can. Oh, look how close
you played that bold with Greta.
I did play the little bull. I won't lie. Oh, yeah, it's beautiful. And yes, the Koch brothers have come in to replace Dick Cheney, the Sniper, for the time being. I think that this is an interesting change. It doesn't feel like a huge upgrade to me, but the Levitate is like a nice change. The thing is, the moveset feels a bit worse to me.
Sludge is good. No?
Sludge is not bad. I would much prefer like a Sludge Bomb at this point, but it's okay.
Yeah. Are there any TMs?
He didn't really learn anything good, is the thing, when he was leveling up. There's a few.
That self-destruct is a risk.
Well,
we kind of want to get that off.
People sleep on self-destruct and explosion in Nuzlocks. Sometimes you really need an explosion to take out that, Palkia, that's sweeping through your team, right? That got an ancient power boost. So,
last resort.
Exactly. It's not like it learned anything way better when it was leveling up, right? It got double hit, and then I replaced something with Smokescreen. So that was basically it. There are some TMs we could teach it. Things like Thunderbolt, but I was like, I don't know if that's really the best thing to give it.
Right.
I guess it would give it some utility. So I'll leave that up to you. What do you think? Are the Koch bros deserving of Thunderbolt?
Well, we can always buy another copy, so I don't think it hurts to give them a usable TM, and Thunderbolt's a good one. And are their special attack stat is pretty solid?
Yeah, it's about equivalent with their attack stat.
I think it's one of those. Oh, Giga Drain.
Yeah. The one thing about Thunderbolt, yes, it is renewable, but only through grinding at the game corner.
Oh, okay. It wasn't in the mall.
No, the mall only has things like Blizzard and Focus Blast and Fire Blast. All the really good ones are at the game corner.
I guess it depends how we want to play this dude, because, right. I mean, is he like a toxic? Do we give him toxic at some point and give him some?
We don't have toxic yet.
Well, eventually, and can he learn roost? Could he be like a toxic roost, endure and wear down kind of dude? I don't know.
Not roost. We could definitely give it protect eventually as well, though. In fact, I think we could buy protect. I think toxic protect would be good for this. Toxic protect Black Sludge. It's a fairly bulky, at least physically bulky Pokemon, so. I don't know. I think there's some potential for that. So that's the thing is I don't know if Thunderbolt is something I would want to keep on it. So
do we have another TM that we can replace more easily that we can give him?
I don't think so.
One of the mall ones, is Blizzard in the mall or something?
Blizzard is, but I don't think it learns Blizzard. And even if it did, I don't know if Blizzard's actually better than maybe it's better than Assurance. I don't know. Yeah. I think for now this is going to be good. Hopefully,
it's fine.
Yeah. I know I'll need to grind out the game corner at some point. So
I'm glad for once in our lives the Koch brothers are our allies, and looking forward to take down Aquafina over here.
All right. Without further ado.
Oh! Finally, you have arrived.
She's supposed to be French, by the way.
Oh, since I came to this country, always I try to learn the new things. They hold contests in this city. I say to myself, "Enfin, I will excel."
Oh my god!
What's enfin?
This is enfant.
Enchanté. They hold contests in this city. I say to myself, "Enfant, I will excel." That is why I reverse the way. C'est une performance.
That's actually not terrible for somebody that doesn't know any French.
As long as I say enchanté, I feel like I can start challenging.
Enchanté.
It's like if I'm doing a British accent,
performance.
you have to start with hello, governor, and then you really easily transition. You know what I'm saying?
Actually, I'm trying to remember if this would be c'est une performance, like if you would like pronounce the T because you start the next word with the vowel sound. I think you might.
Maybe it's
been a little while since I.
It's always cut off as many letters as possible, so it might just be c'est une performance.
Well, no, okay, so c'est is how you would normally pronounce this,
okay.
But in French, you change the pronunciation of the ends of certain words depending on whether or not the following word begins with a vowel sound. So if normally you would pronounce a word as though it ends in like a more of a vowel sound, like say, right? Sometimes you would change up the pronunciation of that word to emphasize the consonant sound to contrast it with the beginning of the next word, which starts with a vowel. It's to try to make the language flow together better.
C'est une format. Yeah, I hear you.
Yeah.
All right, give me my next line.
Okay.
Also, I study the Pokemon very much. I have come to be the gym leader.
She did not say any. That was like German.
And so it shall be that you challenge me. Challenge me.
It's kind of weird. We have two gym leaders, well, really a gym leader and an Elite Four member, Glacia, in Generation 3, who are coded as French, and yet I don't think that they are referenced at all in Generation 6, Kalos, the French-based region, which is kind of weird. Also, Phoebe...
Right, this is actually
Phoebe
still...
is like Hawaiian coded, another Elite Four member in Hawaiian, and she's not referenced at all in Alola. Just...
Well, that's where
but you'd think there would be like a reference to them somewhere. I don't know.
But I shall win because this is still Japan, right?
Yes, this is Japan. So no, it's supposed to be part of Japan. Yeah.
That is what gym leader does. No. I'm so sad that that's the end of her dialogue. Oh well, she'll say some battle lines, so that's good.
Yeah. Oh, interesting.
She'll say, "The battle is not over yet." When she's on her last.
This performance.
10 HP.
Ce n'est pas fini.
The battle is just a beginning.
Okay, I think you have only one. Enough.
Okay. I think they like it.
Rather doubt that.
Comment down below how strong of a French accent was that. Shedinja's a cool cat. I mean, very specific use, right?
Yeah.
But
it's actually very, very good in Nuzlocke where you know all the Pokemon's like non-randomizers because you can just freely like switch it in on anything that doesn't have a super effective move or like a status move like poison or something and just like kill it, for free.
Right.
All right. So far, I think the fact that Pidgeotto is her first switch in to Dragonite does not bode well for her, but we'll see. This thing might have Ice Fang.
Yeah, wonder if this will be a sweep.
This might have Ice Fang, but I feel like Dragon Claw will still just kill it. And I don't think
Dragon Claw kind of
Ice Fang crit would kill, but I don't think non-crit would. Oh, easy. Never punished. Ooh. I really should not have stayed in there. I really shouldn't have, but I did it anyways because I'm getting lazy.
We're 5 levels over. It's just a
the crit would almost certainly have killed. I'd be shocked if the crit didn't kill. But non-crit, I don't think would.
Well, I was watching this morning. I found some people. Well, a lot of people obviously they stream Nuzlocke on
Twitch, YouTube,
Twitch. Well, Nuzlocke and also challenges, right? But on YouTube, there's oftentimes they'll do after their run is over like a compilation, like pretty long. Like sometimes it's like an hour of like just the best moments. And I was watching a challenge of Gen 1. The challenge was this like pro TCG player was playing all of the like opponent
so
non-wild
not a TCG
Pokemon.
player, VGC player. That's Wolfie. No,
No, I think it was
Wolf
a
Glick,
TC.
and it was Small
okay.
Ant's video you're talking about. Yeah.
I think
Wolf Glick,
so.
yeah,
I think
TCG is
so.
trading card.
Yeah,
game,
I thought they said
Yeah.
T. I know. I thought they said TCG
they
at the
said
beginning. I'm
VGC,
like,
which is
oh,
Video
well,
Game
so-
Championship.
so. So when he's like so proud he won, I was like, well, this guy, he plays cards. I mean, he doesn't know how this works.
No,
all
like
that
the guy
well.
literally, Wolf Glick is a former Pokemon video game world champion.
Okay, yeah. So that
Yeah,
starts to make
yeah.
a little more sense. Yeah. I was like, oh, that's great. Like Pokemon community solidarity, but like, why would you have the card game player as your challenge?
Yeah.
But this makes a lot more sense. And yeah, he's playing as the gym leaders and the trainer Pokemon, and they use like a little hack to do that, right?
No, it actually
Which
is really
that's
cool.
pretty cool.
I thought it was really awesome.
I wonder if they do
Yeah.
that remotely too. So I wonder what the setup is, because I think it would be really cool if we did one of these other regions and like I could control
Well,
the
unfortunately,
gym Pokemon,
I think it's a
you know?
very specific. Like Small Ant said that like he commissioned, I think, somebody to literally like reprogram the game to make it possible for him. So it doesn't exist for any other games currently, and I don't even know if you could do it for even Gen 1, because I don't know if he's made that like software available yet.
Yeah, no, it's public. Yeah.
But it would be cool, obviously. And it is still Pokemon community solidarity, because Small Ant's more of like a speedrunner and like weird sort of niche challenge run kind of guy. Whereas Wolfie, though he's branched out in his content a bit more recently, is more of a competitive player, right? Like a video game competitive player.
Is he like current meta, keeps up with the current games
yeah.
kind of dude, or is he like one generation specific?
So the generation that he won in was is it Gen 5 or 6? I don't totally remember actually, but he's obviously performed very well in terms of regional championships and such for like basically every generation's meta. And yeah, he does keep up with them. More recently, I think, because there haven't been a ton of changes to the meta. He seems to have been playing like some other stuff on stream and stuff, but like he's branched out and tried like some Nuzlocke, for instance. But yeah, that's sort of his wheelhouse.
It was pretty entertaining, I would say. They have a couple moments where I think they have bugs that they're not they seem to think are new
Really?
bugs for Gen 1,
That's
but
funny.
I think are just probably the hack that they're using as bugs. Like there's a moment where they like he switches out and the switch out doesn't actually happen, but his he doesn't get hit, and he also uses an attack. I don't know. And there's weird things with the items where like if you as the trainer use an item, then Wolfie, is it right? His items weren't working properly, so there were some like bug moments where they weren't sure whether it was like Gen 1 stuff or like the hack, but that added to
funny,
it.
yeah. And Gen 1 is a game held together by literal like shoestrings, so I feel like it could easily be either. All right, well, I think right now we're just gonna we've got some time.
Oh, we won. We got the badge.
So we can now use Surf. I'm going to go around and like do some odd jobs and stuff involving Surf. And I think now might be a good time to get back into the conversation that we started last episode. About Media and the Israel-Palestine conflict, I believe. It's a bit of an intense topic. So one thing I wanted to bring up just to start it off was that yesterday when we started talking about this, some new news had actually just come out. I don't know if you heard this yet, Joe, but various members of opposition parties announced that they have enough votes to unseat the current Prime Minister Netanyahu. I don't know if you were aware of this, but
yeah, you sent me an article. I did glance at it. It's very cool. As I said last episode, this is like a Donald Trump type. This is a very radical perhaps fascistic.
Not perhaps.
Person.
You ask me, but yeah.
Okay, well, I try and be careful. I think words like fascist and Nazi are overused and it devalues the term sometimes. But
it's not
this is a really bad,
because
crazy
there are
dude.
people who there are people in the government who have actually self-identified as fascists. I think it's hard to overuse it in that case.
Yeah,
in my opinion.
In that situation.
But I know what you mean. I know what you mean. I know it's a sensitive topic. But we must keep in mind that when we're talking about this issue, and this should be obvious, but just to make it absolutely clear, Israel does not equal all Jewish people, right? That is absolutely not the case.
Right.
And on top of that, all Jewish people do not equal Israel. Like, they're completely two distinct concepts.
Right. It's funny because the right will try and draw that connection and try and have you mentally associate Israel with Jewish people, so that way it creates the super armor that you can't criticize Israel. And I say the right very broadly, meaning like people who are conservative on this issue. But also it's funny because the reverse does not hold for China. You know, they love to criticize China in a way that seems to associate Chinese people with the Chinese government, which is, you know.
Yeah, I know what you
cool.
mean.
And has led to, that goes back to the hate crimes conversation, but where it's the China virus and it's the Chinese virus and it's the Chinese disease and it's we're supporting the Chinese.
I just wanted to mention as well, like you said, it's not just people on the right that have a full-throated defense of Israel and like to make that association. The Israel-Palestine conflict is a somewhat unique one where even people who are generally progressive, particularly on issues such as, let's say, Black Lives Matter, being a recent one where like a lot of progressive people and even centrist people came out in support of that movement, at least partially, last year. A lot of those same people might be a lot more hesitant to give any support whatsoever to the Free Palestine movement or any moment of, or any like piece of it, right? Some of them are staunch Israel defenders.
Yeah, this is when I say the right on it,
it's
this
most
issue,
of the
it's like
political
it's
spectrum.
literally like 60. It can be like 60% of the active American public or more. Like, is it like 55% of Americans say that this is entirely
I don't know what the
Palestine's
polling
fault?
data is these days.
Mm-hmm.
It's shifting.
Yeah,
it is.
But like
shifting,
the American people,
which is
it's shifting. Well, it's a really under discussed. It has been really under discussed issue. So
very one-sidedly in American media for decades.
Yes.
I think the interesting thing is, and I wanted to bring this up because it's relevant to my own sort of experience learning about this issue, is that, even as somebody who has identified as like fairly progressive since high school, even I didn't know very much at all about this issue throughout college. Like on my campus, there was this sort of like display that people would put up from time to time, trying to inform people like in the middle of campus, like in a very crowded area, about what's going on in the Gaza Strip and the West Bank, and like trying to get people to understand like basically the other side of this issue that they never hear about, like what's actually happening to the Palestinians in Israel. And I was always like, like there's stuff there that like I've not really heard about, but I kind of just didn't pay very much mind until more recently. Like, and I think once I started to learn more about it, it really like changed how I view the issue, where like if you had asked me a couple of years ago, I probably would have like muttered something about a 2-state solution and like not really known what I was talking about. I think a large part of progressive like hesitancy or even support of Israel on this issue simply comes from the fact that people are not informed about what's happening, and if they were, they might reconsider their position. Bringing it back to Netanyahu, for instance, Netanyahu is considered like a war criminal by most of the world, right? Like, and when I say most of the world, I mean like everywhere except for like Israel and the United States considers this guy a war criminal. Like the United Nations and many other human rights watchdog organizations have routinely criticized Israel's practices and declared, for instance, their occupation of the West Bank as straight up illegal and breaching of treaties that have existed. So, like, this is not an issue where like people generally support Israel. Like the United States is one of Israel's few international supporters. In like many, I should say, in everything that they do.
Yeah,
because there are other like European countries and Canada, for instance, that do generally support Israel, but will still like say that's a war crime. You shouldn't do that. The United States like never does that.
Yeah, I have a couple of things I want to say about that, and one is that I'm kind of with you on the exposure to this issue. I definitely was more exposed in college, but as you know, and I think I mentioned on the show, I went to one of the most progressive liberal colleges in America, and even there was factionalism on this issue. There was a lot of tension. It was probably one of the most tense things on campus in terms of actual like political disagreements. And I understand that there's a lot of like lack of awareness, and similarly, like, so I was exposed to it for sure in college, and I think it helped me understand the issue. But even then, I wouldn't be very articulate about it. But the other thing I wanted to say was that the history behind the U.S. relationship with Israel, I think, is also pretty interesting, because my understanding is that the creation of Israel was led in part by American progressives at the beginning, not understanding the geopolitics or having a very American-centric idea of the geopolitics. I'm not sure.
Or just being
probably
like,
a combination. Or,
as I think is the case with a lot of American progressives today, simply caring more about Jewish people than about Muslim people. Like, that's a bold statement to make, but I think that there's truth to it, right?
But you can see where the strain of the leftism or progressivism could be in, like, oh my God, this is the most oppressed people right now. Right. They were just underwent, World War II. There was just a genocide of their people. The only solution is to give them their land back. That sounds in theory progressive until you realize, like, by giving their land back, we mean rip their land away from the people who have currently
held it for a long time as well. Like, not for like 50 years, right? For like hundreds and hundreds of years. Yeah.
Thousands,
And also like, like to the point where like, is it even their land? Like, can they really claim ownership over it? In particular, when like, you even from the start, like you're saying, like there was this equation of the fledgling state of Israel that people were trying to create with like all Jewish people, which never really made sense to begin with, in my opinion. I think it's a fundamental misunderstanding, and like even if there were noble intentions there, and there may have been initially, I think nowadays the intentions seem a lot less noble when it comes to, Zionists wanting to like have their like religious prophecies fulfilled or whatever. But I can see the noble aspirations initially, but there was never any consideration for the people already living there. Like never, right? Like they were always an afterthought. Yeah. And I think that's pretty...
Except when the consideration was on the opposite end of, this will be great for helping us deal with the Muslims.
Well, I think that's certainly a modern, at least, justification for it. I don't know if that was always an intent. It may have been.
I mean, and this is me not knowing enough of the history, and it's probably like something we could figure out. But, how much the compromise that eventually made this happen, surely it was progressives on the left who were leading it, but were people that were on the right, especially in internationalist ideas, were conceding this or thinking, oh yeah, we can make this happen, because if we do, we have an ally in the region. And already, like, that was obviously a region with a lot of land battles, led by Europe.
Well, keep in mind that
primarily.
like Britain played a large
So-
role of the formation of Israel as well, because Britain and
Yep.
France both at the time still
Exactly.
had a lot of colonial power in that region.
Mm-hmm. And maybe they thought like this is another good way to have, presence in the
Right.
Middle East. That now we get to deal with white people who have a history linked to America and Europe. So that's
This is our encounter.
Oh, great.
Oh.
Hey.
All right, I'll try. I mean, it's not going to evolve until 55, so it might never actually be all that good, but
Yeah.
it's cool. Oh, continue though.
It could be an Elite Four.
It could be, yeah.
I just want to say for those who are watching for us and not for the game, this dude becomes a giant like dragon monster. So
there's almost some
he's
consideration
good.
here of master balling because we can't paralyze it with Thunder Wave, and it's got, I think, a pseudo legendary catch rate of 3, right? So
I think run through the balls, and I think Master Ball is a last resort is an option. Do you have any like really weak normal type attack? Cut.
I forgot to mention, by the way, Mayor Bernie evolved when I was grinding, right? Yeah.
Hey, okay.
Cut's pretty strong. I feel like if I was going to hit it with something soft right now, I'm thinking Sludge. Because it resists Sludge. It quad resists Sludge, actually.
Ooh.
Yeah, Sludge should be very easy.
Oh. Okay, why don't you give it a shot? I'm
I
not throwing away
the one problem with
just
Sludge
you
is that it can
wait.
poison, right? And that might be...
Yep. Then you
I guess
Master
maybe
Ball.
I do just Master Ball, yeah. Okay.
Oh man, survive. Oh, that was great.
Already got... Okay, so we're just going to start chucking balls at this point, yeah.
Chuck it.
Okay, was there anything else you're saying? Like I interrupted you like 7 times there.
Yeah.
Oh, it's got jet
No,
skin.
well, I interrupted myself as well.
No, I just did it again.
No, I mean that was pretty much it, and it's hard to it's difficult because I think from what I know of the history, and granted this history could be just as skewed as the modern media. If we were to place ourselves back in this original debate, we might have been on the side of creating,
possibly.
in his Israeli state. Also, but here we are in the present day where it's not just a question of the existence of Israel. It's a question of the expansion of Israel.
Absolutely.
And that's what we have to focus on, which is really what's really happening, right? It's them trying to take more and more land that is not theirs. That is, essentially it's the people indigenous to the
Virtually,
land.
yeah. And I think
so they really took the American style there.
I think that it was one thing, like I think there maybe is some argument even initially for the creation of some Jewish settlements in Palestine. I don't think that's an inherently terrible idea if you can like find a way to do it that like doesn't deprive the Palestinians.
If there's a
of
compromise
resources.
with the people there,
If they agree to it, if they're content with it somehow, like maybe you give them like a bunch of funding, right? And you're like, here, take this and accept these virtually refugees, right, into your land. But you're right, like what the problem is the creation of this state, which has continued to expand and encroach upon lands that were never intended to be theirs.
Yeah. Right on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
I guess we should probably offer a disclaimer here about anti-Semitism because we will no doubt be accused of it. Anti-Semitism is a massive problem. It has continued to be a problem throughout all of history, virtually. It does appear to be getting worse even as of late. The number of anti-Semitic attacks appears to have increased. You have people in the United States Congress like Marjorie Taylor Greene, who has a long history of anti-Semitic attacks. Damn it. Almost got that one.
Shit.
There are like major issues with anti-Semitism in our own country and around the world. And we acknowledge that, we condemn that. I think you and I both, Joe, have never been in and never will be in favor of people who are anti-Semitic. And there are even people within, I will even acknowledge this, there are some fringe people who support freeing Palestine who do give in to anti-Semitic rhetoric.
Yeah.
However, the movement
It's all about the Benjamins, baby.
the movement itself is not anti-Semitic, and doesn't.
That was an Ilhan Omar reference.
I got that
Okay,
one.
sorry. Keep going.
The movement itself is not anti-Semitic, and it does not have to be anti-Semitic. And you can criticize the state of Israel without being anti-Semitic. And you can criticize the influence that the state of Israel has in American affairs. You know, the way that it's been able to so effectively control the narrative in the region in the United States without being anti-Semitic.
Well, yeah, just like, and you can be, you know, against the oppression of Muslims in China without being anti-Chinese.
Yeah, exactly. Without being like xenophobic, for instance. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or sinophobic. I don't actually know how you pronounce that exactly. I think you're totally right. And you can be against the oppression of women in parts of the Middle East, like Saudi Arabia, for instance, without being Islamophobic. I think these are...
Well, there's a great line, injustice everywhere is a threat to... Wait, hold on. Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice
is that,
everywhere.
Martin Luther King Jr. said that?
I don't think it was.
Injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere.
I'm gonna Google.
I think it is.
I think
it is, but you should look it up.
It's one of those things I have on posters, you know.
Yeah, I mean, notably, I think he said it within the context of protesting the Vietnam War, which he was very staunchly opposed to.
Oh, yeah, you're right. It is MLK Jr.
Yeah.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
It's a good one.
And I think that we can't turn a blind eye, like you're saying, to this injustice because it makes us uncomfortable to talk about, because it's not an especially popular position to hold in the parts of the world that we live in. And to those of you who might ask, you know, what's our solution to this crisis? You know, how do we solve it? And if you're so smart and you know everything, how do you solve it? Well,
we're not even talking about solutions. We're just acknowledging the reality of the situation.
But I know there's people that like that's something people like to do, right? Yeah. When you talk about realities of situations, when you talk about problems that people don't want to admit are problems, they start demanding that you give the solution, right? And we don't have the solution exactly. I have some ideas as to what might be a just solution. I don't know if it's a good solution or an attainable solution, but like we're just like random young adults.
That did a lot of damage.
That was a critical hit.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
I think before we could talk about, you know, collectively, before we can talk about solutions, we need to acknowledge the reality of the situation and at least like stop supporting the problem, right? I think that's the first step we can all take together.
Yeah, stop making it worse.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah. And certainly, you know, I've heard people on all sides have some pretty extreme ideas of solutions that probably end up harming people unnecessarily, you know? And I've heard people with no compromise attitudes about just like, I don't know. I've heard basically people saying, you know, abolish the idea of Israel, like get all of those people out of there.
Yeah.
And it's not my mind to say what the solution is, but let me also say that I imagine anyone who is born and lives in a region and calls that place home
deserves to be there.
Has some right to be there.
Yeah.
And that was how we got in this problem to begin with. So let's not repeat whatever the solution is. It's not a repetition of, you know, the tragedies that have brought us here to begin with.
I think you're right. I would say the solution to me cannot be expel all Israelis from historic Palestine. Like that doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah.
My best guess at a solution, and this is a very vague outline, in my opinion, what a just solution might look like is the transformation of Israel into a new singular state that democratically addresses the needs of both former Israelis and Palestinians. I don't think a two-state solution is reasonable or something that can even be achieved realistically at this point. And I've heard from experts in the field that nobody really believes in it anymore either. But they still sort of pursue it because it's just what they like, all that they feel like they can pursue. And certainly the solution is not just let Israel keep doing what it's doing either. And so I think it needs to transform basically into something new, something better.
Yeah. And I don't want to, my disclaimer here is I don't want to romanticize any system of government, especially where people living there probably have tons of beef. But there are, semi-functional or highly functional multi-ethnic states across the world that are primarily 2 or 3 factions that co-govern and have formal structures of representation to ensure that nobody is left without, representation and power within the system. And because historically, there are a lot of regions that have basically a similar battles going on that have had no choice but to find some system that everyone can agree on. And there's been a lot of problems with those systems too. But damn, anything feels like a step in the right direction from what we have now.
Yeah, exactly. Like no solution, I think, is going to be perfect and address everybody's wants or desires in a way that they all feel is satisfactory. But we have to do something. Like what the current situation is simply untenable, right? That's my feeling on the issue as it stands right now.
A lot of places with a similar history of colonialism creating fictional borders and fictional states, or let me say states based on fictional ideas of reality.
Yeah. Are you talking more about like other parts of, like Africa, for instance, how arbitrarily those borders were drawn up? Nigeria comes to mind for me.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
But also in Europe, there are countries where, there are basically 2 languages that coexist and 2 peoples that coexist. And our modern ideas of whiteness maybe make that more of a seem more feasible. But, there are a lot of places in the world that historically have just had to, come to terms with a tough reality because, borders don't. Oh, I'm so glad we didn't have to use the Master Ball.
Yeah, I was feeling like the timer ball might be sufficient, and luckily it was.
Oh, its body is as hard as bedrock. He's a hard boy.
So why don't you finish your thought, and then we'll come up with a nickname for this.
Well, that was the gist of it. So Benjamin Netanyahu.
Well, this is a female, anyways. Yeah, but
hard-headed.
A cocoon,
gonna hatch into something.
Yeah, like it's a rock solid, almost defensive mechanism.
Yo, wait. Listen,
okay.
Hear me out. She's right now. She's crystallizing.
Okay.
She's waiting for that moment when she's gonna come out and become one of the major forces in the world. She's gonna become a real beast, a real power player.
Okay.
Maybe gonna take us to victory.
Okay.
She's the AOC. If we haven't done that already.
No, we haven't. I think that this could be a real contender for AOC. That's true. I almost was gonna say topically Elon Omar, but I feel like the fact that Tyranitar gets Sandstream and everything, like people are gonna interpret that in a racist way. So I think AOC, this might be the best candidate. Yeah,
that's really funny.
It's funny in a sad way that like I have to think defensively whenever I'm naming these Pokemon. But yeah,
you've learned your lessons from one prior incident.
Well, we didn't go through with it, but yeah, I know. And nobody actually, like, it's not like we've actually had anybody comment and be like, "You disgusting pieces of trash," But I just want to try to avoid that. So,
all right, this is our AOC.
I can't wait till they get a jab. I'm waiting for a jab.
Oh yeah, that's gotta be like a. Was it Stunfisk or something?
Well, sadly, Stunfisk isn't in this game, but that would be a pretty good choice.
Dunsparce. I know you like Dunsparce.
Yeah, actually, Dunsparce could be a pretty good job. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see a poster with Dunsparce! Exclamation point.
Please clap.
Yeah. Please clap.
Well, that's probably a pretty good spot to end the episode for now.
Yes, this is a really long one.
It is a long one because that catching took so long.
It's a big chungus.
And let's just take a quick look at AOC on the PC, see what she's up to in there. Next to Cheney.
Yeah, I think once we start hitting close to level 50, we can maybe grind her out for the Elite Four if we make it that far.
So yeah, looking at the level limits, it's not until the Elite Four, like after the 8th gym, where we can actually get her to Tyranitar. But I mean, she would be a very, very powerful Pokemon to have on our Elite Four team. So glad we got her.
Yeah. Spicy food.
Oh yeah, that's capable of taking hits. You know, brave nature. That's pretty appropriate. I think that's pretty appropriate. I like that.
She rolls with the punches. Yeah. And she heals her own status
Screech
problems.
as well. Scary face. Like, it's perfect. I'm a big AOC fan. I'm totally joking. Those are just attacks that often misogynistic people like to throw at her.
AOC 2024.
Is that the first year she's eligible?
Well, it's the first presidential year.
That's
she's
what I'm
eligible.
saying, yeah.
Yeah, she wasn't eligible this time, but
yeah. All right.
People need to know she's not like 22.
No, she's like 30 now, right?
Yeah. All right. Well, maybe 33, 34.
Maybe.
Anyway,
thanks.
It's been a great episode.
Yeah, thanks for listening through all of that. I think we've mostly covered that issue probably in about as much depth as we're going to be able to get while playing through a Pokemon game. So,
baby game.
Yeah, thanks for listening to all of our varied thoughts on it. Of course, I recommend that you look into the issue yourself more, because God knows I still need to. There's a lot more I think we can all do to understand this conflict better. So yeah. Any final thoughts, Joe?
Subscribe. Smash that like button and subscribe and ring that bell, so that way next time when we talk about a heated issue, you can be mentally prepared.
All right then. See you guys later.
Bye.